review what's new in WebSteering 2016.1.2. It's our latest release of WebSteering, and we've added a number of features that I'd like to show you today. But really what I want to do is show you those features in a demo. So I'm going to really go ahead and start the demo right now. And this demo will be an end-to-end workflow. So what we'll do is we'll connect to a GeoGraphix project from the web application. We'll load data, we'll geosteer the well, we'll make a few printouts, and finally we'll show you some of those new features that we've added for this release. So I'm going to go ahead and escape right here and bring up the application. Now this is the setup page for the application. The application is just a web page. So you just put the web page in your favorites on Chrome or Internet Explorer, and you just bring it up. And what you'll see is this page right here. Now to connect to a GeoGraphix project, you first have to connect to the server. Now you can either connect to your GeoGraphix server using the IP address or just the name of the machine. So as long as you're on your network, you can connect to your server, and all of your GeoGraphix projects will be enumerated for you. So I'm going to select a GeoGraphix project home, and then select the GeoGraphix project. You have to select an AOI within the project, and the reason why you do that is where your grids are going to be coming from. So many projects have thousands, literally, or hundreds and hundreds of layers, and that's a little bit difficult. So you want to select the AOI where your grids are located, your isomap layers are located, because we'll be using those in the tool. I just have one here. Go ahead and select your source list. So the reason why we select our source list is we're able to see our Geo Prognosis picks in the application, and you'll be able to make picks if you need to for your type log well. So go ahead and do that, and then we pick the data and projection and move on. All of the NAD 27 and NAD 83 datum and projections are available. This well that will be geosteering is in the Barnett. So I'll select NAD 27 Texas North Central and save. That is all you need to do to connect to your GeoGraphix project and get going. Now let's go ahead and select the well. Normally the well that you'll be geosteering will be in GeoGraphix. If the well is not in GeoGraphix, not a problem. You can add the well to GeoGraphix right here. But often you'll have a proposed well in GeoGraphix and maybe some Geo Prognosis picks for that well. Very easy to search for the well. We have complete search available. So I'm going to go ahead and search for my well here. There it is. And I can make some changes if I want to. Anytime I make changes here and I say save back to GeoGraphix, those changes will be reflected in your GeoGraphix project. Now let's go ahead and bring in our survey. Surveys, you can bring in surveys two different ways. One, you can bring in your survey and load your survey from an Excel spreadsheet, probably the most common way to do it. Or if you do have WITSML available or WITSML server where you're getting LWD directly from the field, you can load it directly from your WITSML server. Either way you can do either way. Either way works. If you do choose WITSML, we do support generic WITSML 1.31 and Payson and a number of the other providers out there. So Digidrill and Payson and Petrolink. Now I'm going to go ahead and load up my survey just by dragging in an Excel spreadsheet. So before I do that, though, I want to show you what's in that Excel spreadsheet. So here we have just measured depth, TVD inclination, raw data from the field. Many of you will have a spreadsheet that you get from the operator, and it'll have header information in it, or it will have other types of information in it in the header. as well as the raw survey data, not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and drag that, close that out, and drag that Excel spreadsheet right into here. And you can see you can specify the header row and the data row. So the header row has the header, the column names, and the data row is the first row that has the actual data, so the inclination or the azimuth values themselves. So go ahead and specify that. Bring it in. I'm going to go ahead and geosteer this well, not in MD. I'm going to geosteer it in VSD. And I'll make a few quick changes here. So you can see things a little bit better. You can change the color. You can do a whole lot of things here with the layout, but this looks good. So normally, of course, as the well is being geosteered, you will be loading files from your Excel spreadsheet over and over again, maybe once every 2 or 3 hours even, and geosteering the well as we go along. In this particular case, just for presentation purposes and demo purposes, I've loaded the entire survey, and we'll go ahead and geosteer the well with that. When you save the survey back to GeoGraphix, the survey is actually saved in your GeoGraphix project immediately. So if you're using WitsML, for instance, or you just get the Excel spreadsheet, it's only a few seconds from the time that you load the data into the application till it's in GeoGraphix and can be used for other purposes. Okay, next we need to load our LAS file. This is the LWD data that we get from the operator. Again, you can just, and I'll just go ahead and do this, you can drag in an LAS file and select the curve that you want to geosteer with. That'll be the primary curve. Normally it's gamma ray. All of the curves in the LAS file will be displayed for you. And you can select any secondary curves in the LAS file. And this would be, for instance, rate of penetration or your gas log. That will help you geosteer the well. Now, I only have a depth curve here, but let's go ahead and bring in that just to show you what we have. We also have a complete color fill options here, and this was added just recently. So you can select your top, you can select your base, let's just say that's a constant, select your color, and turn it on. And this can help you geosteer the well. The color fill is available between any two curves. So if you, let's say you have your ROP and you want to fill ROP and gamma ray, the area between ROP and your gamma ray curve, you can go ahead and do that here. And actually you can do it for as many curves as you want, up to 10. You can also change the transparency. Just a nice thing to take a look at. Again, if you are using WitsML, go ahead and choose the WitsML wellbore from your server and just hit the load button and it will load in the LWD from the field immediately. And I'll just save that. When you save the LAS file back to GeoGraphix, again, that is saved as a curve in GeoGraphix and then can be used in Prism. Usually, you will have a Geo Prognosis, and you can see here that these are the Geo Prognosis picks that are available for the well that you're drilling, that you're going to be geosteering here. If you don't have Geo Prognosis picks, or if you do notice as you're drilling the well that the target formation, the Geo Prognosis pick is not at the depth that you thought it was, you can make a change right here simply by moving the pick, and that'll update the pick for you. Or if you actually don't have the target formation pick available, you can just add the pick using the pick target formation top tool here. And go ahead and add the pick immediately, and then you can use that pick to hang the well correctly. Let's move on to type logs. Now the type log you can load in two different ways. One, you can load it from GeoGraphix, and two, you can load it from an LAS file. Often it'll be from GeoGraphix. You'll have a well in the area, and there will be you know, a type log, a log associated with it that you want to use as a type log when you're geosteering. Go ahead and select the curve set. Now I've just used the field data here. Select the number of miles around the well. So this is a nice little feature. Generally, you want the type log to be very a well in the vicinity of the well being drilled. And I'll go ahead and select that type log and select the curve that I want to use. I'll add it up here. And now I'll select the target formation. Now the way I think about the target formation is you really, when you geosteer a well, at least the way I think about it, and I'm not sure it's the correct way to think about it, but it is the way I think about it, is you have a little two-well cross-section. And you need to be able to hang those two wells off a common datum. And that would be the target formation. Now, we're going to go ahead and use the upper Barnett as the target formation that we're in the zone of interest. And I'll just make that one active. You can use more than one type log. So as the well is being drilled, and maybe it's a 10,000-foot lateral, there is a well in the vicinity that is actually a better, has a better log to use as a type log. You can go ahead and add that. Only one type log can be used to geosteer at a time. However, you can move back and forth between type logs if you want to. Now let's go ahead and pick our surfaces here. We have marker beds and grids. For those of you that have been using GeoGraphix, grids are isomap surfaces. You'll see that we have a number of isomap surfaces available here. And an isomap surface can help you get an idea of where you are in the zone. I mean, some people may want to actually geosteer based on their isomap surfaces if they're very, very confident. But what I use it for is to sort of give you an idea of the dip of the surface in the area of the well being drilled. So I'll go ahead and select it, one here. Now you can change the lithology, you can change a number of different things. I'm just going to change the color of it just so we can see it. And then I'm going to pick some marker beds. For those that use SES or maybe Vorsight, you'll be very familiar with this concept. These are the picks, the Geo Prognosis picks. You can select these picks here, and I'm just going to select two of them. One, the upper Barnett, and I'll select the Barnett maximum flooding surface here. And maybe I'll actually go ahead and select the basal Atoka, and that's a little bit above it. Now here I can go ahead and select the lithology. So be shale, and you'll see why this is useful in a second. That's a siltstone. Make those active. I don't know, that's maybe a sandstone. Okay. We're ready to geosteer the well. All of our data has been loaded. We've loaded our type log. We've loaded LWD from WITSML or from an LAS file. We've loaded our survey, and we're ready to go. I think you'll see that it's really easy to get data in here. It's simply dragging and dropping your Excel files, your LAS files, into the browser window, and you're good to go. Bring up the geosteering tool. And we're ready to go. And we'll zoom into the zone of interest. You may need to calibrate your LWD against your type log. And we do have a calibration tool for that. And that tool is right here. So you can do that in a couple of different ways. One, you can shift the type log itself. So if I wanted to shift the type log, I can just grab it, move it up and down. That. Or I may need to stretch and squeeze the LWD. I can use the middle mouse button here to stretch and squeeze. And the reason why you want to do this is you need to be able to account for lithology or thickness differences between the type log and the LWD. And you can do that very, very easily using the tool and get yourself set up immediately. Now, I'm going to go ahead and geosteer the well, and I think the easiest way to show you how the tool works is just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to bring that up to maybe here. Probably don't need to see that. Something like that. I can zoom in using my right mouse button. I can stretch and squeeze a little bit. Looks good. And I'll say that segment's fine. Now here are the marker beds. Now the red line here, that's my isomap surface. So if I just get on that red line, oops, it says the upper Barnett subsea surface. That's my isomap surface. The marker beds are these surfaces here. And these surfaces, these would be the surfaces that you would be familiar with. Well, not surfaces, actually just picks that you'll be familiar with if you've worked with SES or Boresight before. Now this is actually a fairly thick zone, about 175 feet. So I'll do that. And you can see that we've landed the well just slightly below the zone of interest, and we're geosteering into the zone of interest now. I'll zoom out a little bit, add a little bit more signal. Let me get over to here. Not quite, but I think this little spike here actually does correspond to this spike in the type log here. If you do find that you need to normalize the LWD against the type log, we do have tools available for that. So I can go ahead and resample my LWD. Make it look a little bit better there. 5. I can give it a weight. I can also calibrate my type log, so I can normalize using a multiplier and a shift. Let's say I shifted this by 100. Or back to 1. I also can multiply it a little bit, use a multiplication factor. And you would use this if your type log curve and the curve that you were getting from the field, your LWD, weren't normalized against each other very well. Sometimes that can happen. But don't fear, because go ahead and make the correction right within the tool. There you go. Okay, this one looks good. I'll save that. And I'm going to turn on my formations because I really want to see where the upper Barnett is. I can turn on both my upper Barnett, my maximum flooding surface here. See, I can see the those surfaces in the type log graph. If I zoom up a little bit, you'll be able to see the maximum flooding surface. Not. Let's continue. Now, when you're geosteering the well, pretty easy to do here. It works very much like the other geosteering applications on the market. We decided not to change too much because people are used to geosteering this way, so there was no reason to change. And I'm going to go ahead, and that actually looks pretty good. You stretch and squeeze with the end line. You apply a fault here with the start line. So if I wanted to apply a fault, I could go ahead and do that. there is no fault here. I can also select the steered segment and apply a fault directly on the segment. So I'll go here, move it up and down, apply a fault that way. Obviously, looking at the signal, there is no fault in that area, so we'll go ahead and put it back. And I'll geosteer the last segment. I have a couple of nice gamma spikes here that can help me do that, so I'll zoom out a little bit. We're actually pretty darn close. Move it down. Looks like we're right on there, and I'll save the last segment. Now, after you've saved the last segment, or while you're drilling, you do have a number of different tools that you can use to help you geosteer the well. Obviously, you can use as many curves as you want here, not only gamma ray to geosteer. All of your segments are visible here, so if you need to copy them to a clipboard or something like that, or put them in Excel, that's easy enough to do. Annotations. Put annotation anywhere. I'll just say this is an annotation. Oops. You can change the color if you want to. Let's see, what else can we do? Oh, we do have the drilling window and drilling target tool. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so you can see it. If we wanted to send targeting information to the drillers, we can certainly do that using the tool. And it looks like here that we may be going out of the zone. So I'm going to send new targeting information in. KVTBD at VS equals 0, inclination, target TBD, all of that information is available, as well as a drilling window. So if you want to remain within a drilling window, maybe 10 feet, say a little drilling window here, see how you're doing. I've seen some folks that basically set up their drilling windows before they actually start to geosteer, send the information to the drillers, and just monitor how close they're getting. But that's available. You can hide and show those if you want to, so you don't need to clutter up your display. You can print. So I hit the print button here. Maybe after, on a daily basis, or after every 200 feet or 300 feet, you want to print out to send to somebody, you can do that. Now, the printout works a little bit differently whether you're using Chrome or not. This is the copy of the printout here. This is what will be printed out for you. You can go ahead, and I'll just print that right now and get a hard copy. Go back. Okay, when you want to save your interpretation, so let's say we've geosteered the well, it's done. We want to save the interpretation. You can just save it here. And what it does is it creates a little file for you called a WGS file. The WGS file contains all the information that is needed to recreate your interpretation. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it. And I'll go ahead and export the file. And I'll save it as, put it in my documents library. Now, when I want to, if I close my browser, if I open up the browser to the same web page, to the WebSteering web page, I will see my previous interpretation. But let's say I'm geosteering 2 different wells. In that case, I will unload my old interpretation and save it. and load a new interpretation using this WGS file. So I'll show you how that works here in a second. I'm going to go to the setup page, and I'll delete the current session. When I delete the current session, all of the information that you have used to geosteer the well is being deleted from the browser. You can use this tool even if you're not connected to GeoGraphix, as long as you have a type log available. So if you knew that you were not going to have VPN access to your network and you still need to geosteer the well, not a problem. Just go ahead, select your well, select your type log, and select your grids or your isomap surfaces prior to leaving. And all of that information will be stored in an HTML5 database that is actually located within Chrome and Internet Explorer. So when I delete this session, all of that data is going away. It's gone. It's gone. So if I want to load up all of that data back into the WebSteering application, I'll hit load. I'll pick it. And the file will be imported back in for me. Not only will the file be imported back in for me and I'll see everything that I was seeing before, I'll get my interpretation back, but the tool will automatically attempt to make a connection back to your GeoGraphix project if you're on your network. So if I go back to the Geosteering page here, everything's back to the way it was before. A few other things I'd like to show you before we wrap up here. We do have a crosshair tool, and this makes it very easy to figure out where you are, and I'll just move it along here. Sometimes when you geosteer, and there are a lot of traversals, it makes it very, very difficult to figure out where you are on the type log. But very easy here with this tool, and I can go ahead and turn that off. We can rescale, and we already went over all the options. We do have a save and undo, an undo and redo. So for instance, if I were to change this, and I didn't like that interpretation, I didn't think that was correct, I can just do a redo, an undo, excuse me. And I can undo up to 10 different operations per segment. So if I'm interpreting and it doesn't appear that the interpretation is correct and I need to get back to a point where I was pretty sure that the interpretation was correct, I can use that undo button up to 10 times. It's very easy to do. Okay, well that's all I have for you guys today. What we did, and just to give you a little recap here, and bring it back up. I think hopefully I've shown you that the tool, the WebSteering tool, is extremely flexible. It's very, very easy to get data in the tool from a variety of different data stores. Even for the grids, you can just drop in a ZMap Plus. If you don't use GeoGraphix, you can just drop in a ZMap Plus file and load your grid that way. But it does have tight integration with GeoGraphix. So if you do use GeoGraphix for your steering, it's only a couple of button clicks from the time that you drag in your LAS or your LWD, or you drag in that survey to the time it's in GeoGraphix. And so it's very, very, very quick to geosteer, and you can do it anywhere. Not only when you're on your network or when you're VPN'd into your network, you can geosteer when you're off your network, and it works just fine. When you do get back on the network, however, the program will ask you whether or not you want to save your current survey or your current curve, your LAS file, LWD data, back to GeoGraphix. So it's pretty much smart enough to know that.